In the automotive world, the late 80s and early 90s were a golden era for Japanese sports cars. Among the legends to emerge from this period was the 1989 Nissan Fairlady Z, or 300ZX twin turbo, a car that not only redefined the Z car lineage, but also set new benchmarks for performance, technology, and design. Today, we're going to take a look at the history of this car and then take it out on our test lap over at the Tokyo Expressway to see how it and its engine swapped counterpart compete on our list. Here's the story of how Nissan created a sports car masterpiece that still holds a special place in the hearts of enthusiasts worldwide. By 1989, the Nissan Z line of a car was already well established, having first debuted with the 240Z in 1969. Over the years, the Z evolved from a lightweight, affordable sports car to a more luxurious and powerful grand tourer. By the late 80s, however, the Z car had grown heavier and somewhat outdated. Enter the Z32 generation. Introduced in 1989 as the Fairlady Z in Japan and the 300ZX elsewhere, Nissan aimed to shake up the sports car market with a car that combined cutting-edge technology, stunning design, and thrilling performance. The twin-turbo variant, in particular, showcased Nissan's engineering prowess and stood as the flagship for the company. At the heart of the 300ZX twin-turbo was the VG30DETT, a 3-liter twin-turbocharged V6 engine that delivered a robust 276 horsepower and 283 foot-pounds of torque in Japanese spec models. Thanks to Japan's Gentleman's Agreement, these power figures were officially capped, but real-world testing often revealed slightly higher outputs. The VG30 was a technological tour de force. It had twin Garrett turbos that provided seamless boost with intercoolers to keep the intake temperatures in check. The engine also had dual overhead cams and variable valve timing to ensure precise control over power delivery. The engine also had a tuned intake and exhaust system that helped amplify the engine's distinctive growl. Power was routed to the rear wheels via a 5-speed manual transmission or optional 4-speed automatic, giving drivers a choice between full engagement and ease of use. The 300ZX twin turbo could sprint from 0 to 60 in about 5.5 seconds and reach a top speed of 155 miles per hour, making it a serious contender in the burgeoning sports car market. The Z32 300ZX was a radical departure from its predecessor, the Z31. Designed by Isao Sono and Toshio Yamashita, its sleek wedge-shaped design featured flush-mounted headlights, the first mass-production car to use projector beam headlights that were later licensed for use by Lamborghini on the Diablo. It also had a wide, low stance, and the car just hugged the road, eluding an aggressive yet aerodynamic profile. There was an optional targa roof where the panels could be manually released and placed in the trunk, but this was standard on many models, and they added an open-air appeal to the driving experience. These design features weren't just for show. It achieved a drag coefficient of just 0.31, reflecting its aerodynamic efficiency. Beneath its stylish body, the 300ZX twin turbo featured a chassis engineered for precision and stability. The car utilized Nissan's multi-link suspension at both the front and rear, ensuring excellent handling without sacrificing comfort. The twin turbo models included additional features for enhanced performance, such as super high capacity active controlled steering, which was a 4-wheel steering system that improved agility at low speeds and stability at high speeds. It also offered larger brakes and upgraded cooling systems to handle the demands of spirited driving. The result was a car that felt just as at home carving through mountain roads as it did cruising down the highway. Inside, the 300ZX struck a balance between luxury and sportiness. The cockpit-style dashboard wrapped around the driver with controls and gauges intuitively placed for ease of use. High-quality materials, comfortable bucket seats, and features like automatic climate control and an optional premium Bose audio system made the interior feel modern and upscale. The Z32 also introduced innovative technology, including digital climate controls for precise temperature settings and an optional active suspension system for the non-twin turbo models to adapt to varying road conditions. When the 300ZX hit the markets in 1989, it was met with critical acclaim. Automotive journalists praised its blend of performance, refinement, and style, with many naming it one of the best sports cars of the era. Car and Driver included the 300ZX on its annual 10 best list every year from 1990 to 1996. In the US, the car was positioned as a competitor to the Chevrolet Corvette and Toyota Supra, while in Japan, it went toe-to-toe with the Mazda RX-7 and Mitsubishi GTO, or in America that would have been the 3000 GT. Despite the stiff competition, the 300ZX twin-turbo carved out a loyal following, thanks to its unique combination of power and everyday usability. By the mid-1990s, rising exchange rates and tightening emissions regulations made the Z32 increasingly expensive to produce and sell. In 1996, the 300ZX was discontinued in the US, while in Japan, production continued until the year 2000. Today, the 1989 Nissan Fairlady Z is regarded as a classic symbol of Japanese engineering excellence from the golden era of sports cars. Enthusiasts prize its timeless design, robust performance, and tuning potential. Well-maintained examples have become highly collectible, with prices climbing steadily as nostalgia for 90s icons continues to grow. The Z32 300ZX was a technological statement and design triumph, a car that pushed the boundaries of what a Japanese Grand Tourer could be. Decades later, its legend lives on, cementing its status as one of Nissan's finest creations. Although it wasn't the twin-turbo model, my sister actually had a 2+2 variant of this car. So if you like this livery, please search on the name Jennifer, and you'll be able to download it for your car. And if you have made it this far, please like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content. But let's go ahead and take these cars over to Tokyo and see how the normal engine version versus the engine swap version handle our loop. After fully upgrading the Fairlady with the factory motor and using the medium turbo, it'll end up producing 749 horsepower and 575 foot-pounds of torque. The horsepower curve stays nice and flat after around 4,000 RPM, so it's pretty easy to work with. The torque curve at this point actually starts to drop, but that may not be a bad thing. After 3 stages of weight reduction, the Z comes in at 2,463 pounds. The weight of all that technology and luxury is causing this car a couple of problems. The biggest issue is that it eats tires, which is why the torque dropping off may actually be a good thing. You'll want to be gentle on the throttle with this car because it's really easy to break the rear end loose. And with the factory engine, the tires in the front wore at about 25%, with the rears wearing halfway through at about 50% on our 3 test laps. It was able to hit a top speed of 229 miles per hour, but it's going to burn through its tank of gas in about 3 laps while achieving these speeds. This is a car that's going to spend a lot of time in the pits if you fully build it out, and it's a little difficult to compete with the 800 series race cars. So this is a car you may actually want to detune to around 700 performance points in order to get the most out of it. This is also a pretty good early game car, but with the fuel usage and the tire wear, it may not be the best choice, after you get a little bit more established in the game, unless this is a car you're really into. We ended up crossing the line with the Fairlady at 1 minute, 53 seconds, 0.874, which put it just behind the McLaren F1 and just in front of the engine-swapped Amuse S2000. So it's in good company, even though it eats up tires pretty aggressively and goes through fuel. But let's go ahead and see what this does once you engine swap the vehicle. If you decide to engine swap the 300ZX with the GTR's more modern engine, there's a good potential that you're going to actually amplify a lot of the problems that this car has. The benefit to it is that it does reduce the weight an additional 67 pounds, so there is definitely a benefit to doing this. Again, I would still tune this car down to around 700 performance points, and you'll want to do that by just shedding a lot of the power, because this car has even more power now, which has even more greatly reduced the life of those rear tires. I ended up blowing through the tires on this car after about 2 laps, and it's just going to be way too aggressive on that back end in order to actually be competitive in any races that allow for tire wear. That said, in this configuration, the 300ZX with the swap has 797 performance points, picking up 20, 927 horsepower, picking up 178, and 659 foot-pounds of torque, picking up an additional 84. The power is much peakier in this engine, and the torque is much flatter, so you really need to be delicate if you have it fully built out so that you don't kick that back end loose. It hit a top speed of 245 miles per hour on the straights, so this car is plenty fast, and there's a lot of power you can give away in order to make it more fuel efficient and better on the tires. As I said, the rear tires wore at 100% and the fronts were at about 20, and we got 3 laps still with the fuel, so that wasn't a big difference. We ended up crossing the line at 1 minute 52 seconds, 0.453, and that put us just behind the 08 engine swapped Fairlady and just in front of the XJ220. So not a bad car for something a little bit more vintage. If you missed the video on the Mercedes McLaren SLR, please check it out here, and we'll catch you in the next one.